Because sequels sell tickets, it is almost inevitable that 2020 will be studded with some seriously big follow-ups. We'll see the monster-sized clash of King Kong and Godzilla, we'll see the return of James Bond in No Time to Die, and perhaps most importantly, we will also see a SpongeBob SquarePants sequel. God bless that yellow fella. But away from those stellar sequels, and you can add the likes of Ghostbusters and Fast and Furious to our ever-growing pile too, there are also a massive number that might be flying somewhat more under the radar. Whether it's because they were announced a long time ago, or dished out comparatively quietly, or because people simply missed them being a thing at all. These projects just deserve a little bit more attention. And hey, where there's attention going round, only child Ash Millman will be there to bask in it. So, hello, I am Too Ash Too Furious from What Culture, and these are 10 more movie sequels you didn't know were coming in 2020. 10. The Purge 5. Ordinarily, when a franchise goes back to the start with a prequel, like the first Purge did for the 4th movie, it is a signal of the end. It's fundamentally the point where it appears that the studio has run out of ideas for expansion, so they head back in time to where innovation doesn't matter quite as much. Still, there was always more potential in the Purge universe, which the ongoing TV show has proven. And even as the narrative tumbled down some rabbit holes and got a bit out there, the fundamental idea of doing whatever the hell you want without fear of breaking the law for one night only remains a ripe one for exploring more. Luckily for anyone else who likes that sort of thing, there is a 5th chapter coming, with James DeMonaco promising it will be the last, which yeah, we will see about, and some whispers of a heist storyline set on Purge Night. If there is one thing I can get behind, it is Ocean's 11 meets The Domestics, which is now admittedly an incredibly high bar for this sequel to hit, so sorry about that. 9. Coming to America. Over 30 whole years ago, Eddie Murphy scored one of his most retrospectively adored comedy hits with Coming to America, giving the world Soul Glow, Sexual Chocolate, and most importantly, Prince Akeem of Zamunda. The sequel, which was talked about for years without any actual progress, will reunite the principal cast, including Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, and Shari Headley, as Akeem is forced to head back to America to find the son that he never knew about. This is to honour his father's dying wish to groom said son for the throne, which of course means some hijinks are on the cards as ever. Excitingly, the cast has now swollen to include Wesley Snipes, Leslie Jones, and Tracy Morgan, and if the sequel can recapture the old magic, it could be a pretty great addition to next year's sequel lineup. 8. Chicken Run 2. Stop-motion animations obviously take a long time to make, but nobody could have really expected a follow-up to the hugely charming Chicken Run to take 20 years. And yet, here we are. Probably because they spent too long arguing whether Egg Run comes next or not, eh? To be fair though, it also might have something to do with how tied up the end of the first movie felt, with the chickens all free and Rocky and Ginger kicking off the romance that had been teased all the way through. Quite what else needed to be said is unclear, but there's obviously enough for the Aardman folk to stretch out a plaster sequel. It is directed by Paranorman Sam Fell, which immediately means it will be great and the original writing team are back too. You'd be clocking mad to miss it. Sorry, not sorry. 7. Kung Fury 2. The story of Kung Fury is one of triumph in the face of adversity, success out of the expectations of failure, and ridiculousness in a world turned too serious. It was a crowd-funded masterpiece, a comedy martial arts action mashup featuring superpowered kung fu, time travel, Hitler, Vikings, dinosaurs, and a giant robotic eagle. No amount of explaining it can possibly do its nonsense justice. And now, thanks to that film's huge viral success, there is a feature-length sequel coming in 2020 with David Sandberg returning as the titular hero cop. And talents as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Alexandra Shipp, Michael Fassbender, and David frickin' Hasselhoff all joining him. This is a car I would definitely jump in. The plot outline calls for more Hitler, more time travel, Hasselhoff playing a guy who turned into a car, oh my god, the world has come full circle, Arnie playing a Viking king, and a reporter called Ray Porter. Do I need to tell you any more? You already know it is gonna be ludicrously good. 6. The Christmas Chronicles 2. The Christmas Chronicles should have probably been awful. Aside for the incredible casting of Kurt Russell and Chris Columbus's involvement as a producer, it looked mostly like a made-for-TV Christmas movie about kids finding out the true meaning of Christmas and blah blah blah. But then, miracle of miracles, it turned out that despite some iffy effects and enough corn to supply every cinema in the world, it was a real joy. Russell is as magnificent as his facial hair. The story is genuinely very charming, and crucially, it captured that certain special festive something that makes all the best Christmas movies so magical. That is how it managed to pick up 20 million streams in its first week, at least according to Big Braggers Netflix, so it was inevitable a sequel was always going to happen. Russell will, of course, return, as will Goldie Hawn as his wife. Now Chris Columbus is directing, there is even more reason to expect the sequel to strike the right notes again. 5. Escape Room 2. While Escape Room genuinely had a great concept behind it and looked like it would naturally appeal to Saw fans and Cube devotees, it was very much a case of a great idea with flawed execution, thanks to that icky sequel bait ending. But thanks to a rise in public interest in escape rooms and the strength of the idea, the film still managed to be very lucrative for Sony, immediately justifying their decision to include the ending hook. What we're looking at here is a Saw-like situation, where the victims are faced with a mysterious villain pulling strings behind the scenes, killing off innocent victims for the entertainment of wealthy benefactors who like to gamble on who will die. It's like a Hunger Games /Saw/Final Destination mashup, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Sony are aiming for similar franchise longevity to those titles. In the sequel, which is set for August 2020, we'll see the puzzle maker pulling the first film survivors plus other innocent players into even more devilish games, as the stakes get higher and the license to be more gruesome greater. Hopefully we will get to see a single droplet of blood in the next one. 4. Candyman. When the new Candyman was announced with Jordan Peele producing, it looked very much like we were getting a reboot and Tony Todd would be replaced. When Lakeith Stanfield was cast, that looked doubly certain. But then eventually, it turned out that the 2020 film is a spiritual sequel, and Todd is indeed back as the iconic titular character. Thank all things unholy for that. Stanfield will play a visual artist with a fascination in the Candyman legend, and Mad Men's Teyonah Parris will play his girlfriend. Presumably lots of others will be cast to fill up the Candyman's kill list, but with Peele involved in the creative direction, it might be wrong to expect this to go in a conventional direction. Whatever the specifics, having another horror legend back on the screen without the dreaded reboot button being pressed is cause for excitement. And Peele is quickly staking a claim as one of the most exciting horror filmmakers working today. So there is a heapful of added honey nut sweetness there too. 3. To All the Boys I've Loved Before Too. If you capture just the right magic with a young adult novel adaptation, you can be onto a real winner. The demographic are enthusiastic about movies that tell their own stories, and there's a sort of universality to the best adaptations that means anyone can watch them and relive the awkwardness and romanticism of being a teenager, even when they are old and bitter. Or maybe that's only true for some of us. Anyway, that is the exact blend that To All the Boys I've Loved Before captured on Netflix, and that is why you're getting not just one sequel, but 2 of them. The second installment will be called To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You, which will further explore the relationship between Lana and Peter, adding in some more drama and focusing more on supporting characters. Given the popularity of the first film on Netflix, a sequel should be a huge draw again, and it being the middle point of a planned trilogy means we can expect some juicy escalation. 2. The Conjuring 3. As long as there are films and there's an audience for horror, there will be movies set in the Conjuring universe. They are as inevitable as the tides, and so is their ability to rake in many times more than their cost at the box office. Even when they're far from perfect, as the recent Curse of La Llorona proved to be, there is now enough brand pull there for it to not really matter. That's why we're getting a sequel to The Nun and a new Conjuring spin-off called The Crooked Man, but not before the 3rd chapter in the mainline Conjuring universe movies in 2020. La Llorona's director will be in the director's chair, whilst Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga will return as Ed and Lorraine Warren. And the plot is said to revolve around a legal trial where the defendant claimed he was possessed whilst committing a crime. That all sounds like a recipe for success. Expect more of the same, but the slightly different focus should add a welcome new dimension, whilst there is no way there won't be some serious scares in there too. 1. Venom 2. While Venom was massively popular and made an absolute bucket of money for Sony, it wasn't exactly critically lauded. That sort of thing doesn't matter these days though, especially not when you use it as part of your marketing. Nothing says, come see this movie, like also saying that the critics just don't understand it. Next year sees some big changes to the Venom universe. And no, that is nothing to do with Spider-Man potentially being available to cross over into Eddie Brock's world. No, the big change is the signing of Andy Serkis as the sequel's director, which is great news given his eye for darkness. The other big news is that Woody Harrelson is back to play Carnage, and Hardy is obviously back too, as is Michelle Williams. So this time here's hoping we see some more female Venom too. And that's our list. What sequel are you most excited for? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash and this has been What Culture. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and come back every day for more lovely content. Thanks for watching.